Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome. If you've never been here before, have no idea what I do, here on my channel, I cover true crime cases, and all of the cases that I cover are a little bit more on the vintage side. They're all basically 20 years or older. So if that's something you might be interested in, maybe go down below and click that subscribe button. And also remember to turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. So today's case video, as you can tell by the minutes on the video, it's not going to be a long one, but it's one that I really wanted to talk about, and it's one that I had on my list of cases to discuss on my channel, but I've been putting it off for a while because there's not a lot of information online about it, and there's just not a lot of information in general when it comes to this case. The reason that I'm finally getting to it now is because last month I went on a mini vacation to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and right near Gatlinburg is Pigeon Forge, and in Pigeon Forge there is a crime museum called Alcatraz East Crime Museum. It is the coolest museum I've ever been to in my entire life, but they had a poster up of people who have gone missing in the state of Tennessee, and Tonetta was on that poster. I looked at the poster and I was basically like, okay, it's finally time to cover her case. But before we get into her case, I do have to say that today's video is sponsored, and it is sponsored by Skillshare. If you've never heard of Skillshare, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands upon thousands of classes that overall allow your creativity to blossom. It's a place where you can interact with fellow creatives, where you can enhance current skills and also develop new ones. You can dive into a class for literally anything from animation, illustration, music, photography. You can build your business with such classes as business analytics and marketing. And of course, there's also some self-help classes, which are my personal favorites. Whether you're trying to manage stress, overcome boredom, find a new hobby, or help your business, Skillshare is for you. The class that I'm recommending for you all in today's video is called Video Editing with Adobe Premiere Pro for Beginners, and it is by Jordy. He has a great personality and his videos are very easy to follow. But the reason that I am really recommending his class to take is because I get a lot of questions on my channel what editing software I use, and I use Adobe Premiere Pro. His class just teaches you how to use that software, so if you're looking to get into YouTube or any video editing, I definitely recommend this software, and I definitely recommend his class. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get 30% off an annual premium membership so you can explore your creativity. And even if you've already had a free trial of Skillshare before, you can still take advantage of this offer to get a full year of unlimited learning and creative exploration. So thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring another one of my videos, and let's get right into the case. Today we are going to be talking about the disappearance of Tonetta Carlisle. Tonetta Yvette Carlisle was born on August 28th of the year 1973. She was described as being bubbly and possessing the same humor as the rest of her family. She was a girl who just loved to see people around her happy. She loved to laugh, she loved fast food, especially pizza. She also loved music, especially rap. And when it came to artists though, Bobby Brown was her favorite during the late 80s. During the year of 1989, she was just living a normal teenage life where school was really the main thing she focused on. In 1989, she was 15 years old and was a freshman at Chattanooga High School in Hamilton County, Tennessee. Chattanooga High School is also referred to as City High School. In today's time, though, this school is permanently closed. Her family home was on Hamilton Avenue, in the 600 block of Hamilton Avenue to be more precise. Now, Tonetta would walk home every day from school, and this walk was about a mile. It would take somewhere between 20 to 25 minutes to walk. Tonetta walked this distance every single day and nothing ever happened to her. But on March 16th of 1989, she never returned home. Tonetta's mother, her name is Noni, she waited at home for hours and hours for Tonetta to get home, and Tonetta never arrived. And about 8 hours after Tonetta was supposed to be home from school, her mother decided to phone the police and file a missing persons report. So Tonetta's mother files a missing persons report, and come to find out, another report had been filed that same day, but this report was an abduction report, and it took police 2 days to connect the missing persons report and the abduction report. The abduction report was filed by a woman who saw Tonetta's abduction. This woman was on Ruth Avenue around 3:00 p.m. when she looked up the hill onto Hamilton Avenue and saw Tonetta walking. Now, out of nowhere, this woman claimed that a group of unknown suspects hopped out of a vehicle, snatched up Tonetta, forced her into the vehicle, and quickly drove off. This woman and her husband then drove after the vehicle themselves in the hopes to catch up to it, but they were unable to. They lost the vehicle that Tonetta was in. The woman who witnessed Tonetta's abduction claimed the vehicle was tan and yellow, and she was thankfully able to get a great look at the license plate. Its number read LKH-920. This witness immediately went to authorities to file the abduction report. Now, like I stated before, the two reports were not connected at first, which is honestly a little bit strange to me. And of course, at the beginning of Tonetta's disappearance, authorities stated that Tonetta was probably, say it with me, a runaway. But the amazing thing is that this witness was able to remember the license plate number. So that's what authorities needed to trace, and they did trace it 2 days later. The license plate belonged to a man named Jeffrey Jones, and this man, he had a record. He was definitely not a good guy. About a year before Tonetta's abduction, Jeffrey Jones had been released after serving 8 full years in prison for charges of rape and aggravated sexual assault. It was also later discovered that about 2 months before Tonetta's abduction, he also raped a woman in his apartment complex. One of the main reasons that I really wanted to cover this case, although it's very short, is because of the circumstances surrounding it. And one of the circumstances is so insanely infuriating, and we'll get to that right now. So because authorities tracked his license plate number, they were able to find out where this man lived. And okay, so Tonetta was abducted on the 16th and Jeffrey Jones was found on the 18th, 2 days later. But Jeffrey Jones was found dead. Jeffrey Jones had taken his own life through carbon monoxide poisoning. His body was in his van. This is how authorities found him. Deceased, and he left nothing behind in regards to Tonetta's abduction. Not a note, nothing. Jeffrey Jones was just gone, and he was gone with anything he knew about what happened to Tonetta Carlisle. This day, on the 18th, was the day that police connected Tonetta's abduction and Tonetta's disappearance. They knew that the two reports had to be connected, that the teenager that the woman saw being forced into the vehicle was Tonetta Carlisle. After Jeffrey Jones's remains were located, it didn't just end there. Police still had hope to find Tonetta. Maybe she was still alive somewhere. Maybe she was being held hostage. They brought in over 300 officers. They brought in bloodhounds, and volunteers came in to also help. They searched Jeffrey Jones's apartment and the surrounding areas, but their search was fruitless. They found absolutely no signs of Tonetta. Tonetta's mother was informed of the updates in the case, and she was absolutely heartbroken, but she held hope that Tonetta may still be out there alive somewhere. She held that hope for so many years, but she has made her opinions very clear publicly when it comes to the police investigation. She believes that police should have started looking for her daughter as soon as she filed the missing persons report, not 2 days later when the two reports were finally connected. Because authorities basically did with her what they do with a lot of people, is that they immediately said that Tonetta was just a runaway and that was it, and that she should just wait and see if Tonetta comes back. We have covered so many cases here on my channel where it's the same thing. A child or a teenager goes missing and authorities are basically just like, hey, you know, they're a runaway or they'll be back eventually. But you do have to remember that here on my channel, I am covering disappearance cases, and I am covering cases of people who have unfortunately had their lives taken in gruesome ways. And there are so many, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times where a child or a teenager has gone missing and they did show up not that long after. And that's really why police tell parents that their kid is most likely going to be back, because most of the time that does happen. But here on my channel, I'm covering the cases where that isn't what happens. With Jeffrey Jones dead and no idea where Tonetta could be, people didn't know where else to go when it came to this case. And as years passed, the case went cold. But like so many other disappearance cases, there were supposed sightings of Tonetta. There were sightings of her all across the country, even a report in Minnesota where some individuals claimed they saw her in a supermarket. There were also reports that she was seen at a housing project in the same area that she went missing, in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But the main theory reported to authorities was that Tonetta had been put in a sex trafficking ring and was sent out to California. None of these reports, though, could be verified, and authorities were never able to locate any information that Tonetta had been transported out of the state of Tennessee. For years and years and years, that's basically what was going on in this case. It would be one supposed sighting after another, and her family would kind of get their hopes up, and then nothing else would come of it, and then some time would go by and another supposed sighting would come in, they would get their hopes up, and again, nothing. But within that 2 days, from the 16th to the 18th, what happened to Tonetta? And also, who else was involved? Because the witness who saw Tonetta being abducted said it was a group of unknown suspects. It wasn't just one person. So who else was involved? And we obviously know that Jeffrey Jones was involved, but the main suspect took his own life. And why did he take his own life? So many things are just left up in the air with this case. Through the years, the word of Tonetta's case, though, still spread, with her case also being featured on the renowned, well-known show, America's Most Wanted. And this episode basically focused on Jeffrey Jones and wanting to know who this man was and if anyone had any other information about him and the people who may have been involved in Tonetta's abduction as well. But one bit of really good news in this case, though, is that this case had been closed. It was a cold case. It was completely closed. But in August of 2019, the Hamilton County's Cold Case Unit did announce that they officially reopened the case. Since her case was reopened, they worked on eliminating a lot of theories, and right now they are focusing primarily on Jeffrey Jones and trying to piece together everything with him. Now, the man who reopened her case, though, his name is Mr. Pinkston. He says that they really right now are wanting anyone to come forward who knew Jeffrey Jones during mostly the last year of his life. They're hoping maybe someone comes forward with new information. Also that maybe someone knows the other men involved with abducting Tonetta that day, people that Jones was close to before he died. They also have taken newer DNA samples from Tonetta's mother, Noni, and Tonetta's older brother, Daryl Stewart, to enter into the system in case they do come across a Jane Doe that matches Tonetta's description. In today's time, her mother does not have that hope anymore that her daughter is still alive. She does believe that she is dead. She does believe that Jeffrey Jones murdered Tonetta and disposed of her remains somewhere in the area, and she just prays that eventually they can find those remains and give Tonetta a proper burial. But just in case Tonetta is still alive, she never changed her phone number all these years, just by some chance that her daughter may call. Tonetta Yvette Carlisle was a Black female with black hair and brown eyes. At the time of her disappearance, her hair was curly and it was trimmed shorter on the top and sides and longer in the back. Her ears were pierced and several of her teeth were capped or had fillings. She was last seen wearing a pink and white striped blouse, a denim skirt, and white sneakers. She was a tiny girl standing at 5 feet 1 inches tall and weighing 95 pounds. If you have any information on the disappearance of Tonetta Carlisle, you are urged to contact the Chattanooga Police Department at 615-698-9752 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST, which is 1-800-843-5678. Remember that you can stay anonymous, and other than Tonetta, police are also wanting anyone to call that has any information on Jeffrey Jones. The last information that I could find online about Tonetta's case has to do with a service that was put on in her memory. News Channel 9 ABC released an article on August 31st, 2019, Chattanooga, Tennessee. The community gathered together Saturday afternoon at Coolidge Park for an event to honor Tonetta Carlisle, who went missing 30 years ago when she was just 15 years old. Hamilton County District Attorney Neil Pinkston reopened the missing persons case this week. Carlisle disappeared on March 16, 1989, while walking home from school. Family and friends, including Tonetta's mother and 2 brothers, wore t-shirts with the words reading, "Gone but not forgotten." They took a group photo before saying a prayer and releasing 46 balloons into the air because Carlisle would be 46 years old. "The balloons are going into the air, up to heaven, because we know Tonetta is with the Lord," said Daryl Stewart, Tonetta's older brother. "My heart is overwhelmed," said Noni, Tonetta's mother. "It's so full because of the love and support people have shown. This means community love where Tonetta started from," said Alton Stewart, Tonetta's younger brother. So that is the disappearance case of 15-year-old Tonetta Carlisle. It's unsolved. There's no body. The main suspect is deceased, took his own life, and the other people involved, we have no idea who they are. But I believe 100% that somebody who was involved that day is still out there, probably living still around the Chattanooga area. They know what happened and they've just never come forward. Maybe they are so involved with crime in general that it doesn't even faze them, and that they've just done so much in life that doesn't even affect them. I don't know, but you have to be real heartless to basically jump out of a vehicle with a bunch of men and abduct a 95-pound girl. And other than heartless, I think you're just weak. I think you're weak. Preying on somebody who, you know, has no chance at fighting back. It's weak. But this is a case, like with all my cases, I'm really interested to see what you all have to say about this one. So leave those opinions, leave those theories, leave those thoughts, and leave, of course, love for Tonetta's family all down below in the comments of this video. And with all that being said, I will see you all in the next one.